Hi, I'm Daryl Betenia. I'm manager of collections at Glenbow. I'm going to talk to you today about hats, specifically a collection of hats that we recently received, and a little bit about the woman who wore them. I hope you enjoy the tour. We all belonged to Maude Sproule and came to Glenbow from her daughter Judy. Maude passed away in 1994 at the age of 85. She'd been married to John Campbell Sproule. He was the founder of the Calgary petroleum exploration firm, Sproule Associates. Maude dressed fashionably throughout her life, and she was particularly fond of hats. And almost all of Maude's hats came from a Calgary millinery shop run by the Mrs. Lacey, which was located near the Palliser Hotel. The Mrs. Lacey were two older single women, sisters. And given the styles represented in the collection, the Mrs. Lacey carried a range of very good designs in their shop. Maude was shy and quiet, but very funny, and she's described by Judy as beautifully eccentric, very smart, and with a love of language. The first examples I'm going to talk about are all from the Georgette Hat Shop, which was located on Granville Street in Vancouver. The Georgette Hat Shop was active in the 1960s, and their designs were obviously favorites for Maude. She had several, 3 of them are in this case. This is a cartwheel style, called that because it's large, round, and relatively shallow. It's made of raffia, as are many hats and bags. Raffia refers to a group of a species of palm trees found in, amongst other places, Madagascar. And this particular example is raffia with diamante decoration. This cap is very different from the cartwheel, but it also comes from the Georgette Hat Shop. It's made largely from nylon, designed and cut to resemble feathers. It dates from the early 1960s. Maude may have worn this while traveling with her husband and attending various corporate events. He traveled a lot, and she often traveled with him. And as you can see, it is beautifully cut, textured, and layered, and the colors are subtle and striking. This final example of a design from the Georgette shop is a Breton style, and like the cartwheel, it's made from raffia. And in this particular instance, although it's from a later period, it bears a strong resemblance to hats that you might see in shows like Downton Abbey, dating from the late 1920s. You may also have seen Maude wearing this hat around the house, given the opportunity. Judy notes that her mother used hats as a sort of armor. And amongst other things, she would wear them at home, and not being terribly social, if someone came to the door wearing the hat allowed her to say, "Oh, I was just on my way out." This one is by Lily Dachet Debs of New York and Paris. Lily Dachet was a very prominent hat designer based on the Upper East Side of Manhattan and was interesting and famous in her own right. Dachet claimed to be French, but there are some doubts about her actual origins. Some people think she was Romanian or Polish, and her birth date was also somewhat of a mystery. I've seen circa 1898 and I've seen 1896. Dachet started her career at Macy's and then moved to an independent hat shop, which she eventually came to own. In 1937, she was able to acquire a much larger building where she combined retail sales, a wholesale business, a workroom, and her home. Dachet focused very much on what she saw as glamour. And one of the quotes attributed to her is, "Glamour is what makes a man ask for your telephone number, but it is also what makes a woman ask for the name of your dressmaker." And she designed for various celebrities, including Audrey Hepburn, Carole Lombard, and Marlene Dietrich. And this hat provides a good example of what good condition the hats were generally in when they arrived at Glenbow. Although there's some fraying to the ribbon, as you can see here, overall it's in excellent condition. Maude and then Judy took very good care of the hats before they came to Glenbow. This striking and large creation is a Strathmore by Newton of Paris and New York. The style is referred to again as a cartwheel for obvious reasons. It is shaped like a cartwheel, large and round and relatively shallow. Cartwheels first appeared prior to the First World War, but they were revived in the 1950s. This cloche style was created under the Creation by Andre label. And although I'm referring to it as a cloche does not usually have a brim. To me, this one actually resembles at least a little bit a pith helmet. You can also see the accompanying hat box in the case. Andre is the design label for a company called Canadian Hat. They've been using the Andre signature since the 1950s. Andre designs have been described as high-end hats sought after in London and Paris. Canadian Hat continues to exist today. This feather cap, again quite different, is by Phyllis New York. Phyllis hats often contained a multitude of multicolored feathers. This one consists of only 3 primary colors: cream, brown, and black, with just a hint of red. Although Maude Sproule was born in Edmonton while her father was serving as Chancellor at the University of Alberta, she was a member of the Riley family of Calgary's Riley Park, and she grew up in Calgary and considered herself a lifelong Calgarian. She was an interesting, dynamic, somewhat eccentric woman who led a fascinating life. We're very pleased to have these hats in our fashion collection and representing just a small part of that life.